Hi, my name's Alex and welcome to a little series of reflections that I've put together based on The Hobbit. I've called it Questions of Life, from the Shire to the Lonely Mountain and everywhere in between. Part 1, The Power of a Story. The power of a story. Think of your favourite story. Can you remember hearing or reading it for the first time? Your favourite childhood story? I can actually picture myself now, sat on a carpet in my little village school in North Dorset, listening to Mrs. Pearson reading The Hobbit to us. I think I must have been about 7 years old, but it captured my imagination. The pictures that those words evoked are still ingrained in my memory. And when I read it to my daughter Charlotte last year, it was like stepping back in time. To a time when a desire for something more was placed on my heart. The Hobbit is a story that made me long for so much more. A story that shaped my heart and my deepest desires for something more than this world, something other, something beyond. C.S. Lewis, who wrote The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe and was mates with J.R. Tolkien, wrote this: "The value of myth is that it takes all the things we know and restores to them the rich significance which has been hidden by the veil of familiarity. The child enjoys his cold meat, which is otherwise dull to him, by pretending it is a buffalo, just killed with his bow and arrow, and the child is wise. The real meat comes back to him more savoury for having been dipped in a story. By putting bread, gold, horse, apple, or the very roads into myth, we do not retreat from reality, we rediscover it." So the first decision I made on facing isolation and lockdown and being confined to the house was to finally watch the films in close succession, the films of The Hobbit, one after one. And I've been reminded how powerful a story can be. But also how this story of Bilbo Baggins, the dwarfs and Gandalf can connect us to a deeper story, a true story, a story that we can find ourselves written into. It has been said so often that the best way to explain the Christian faith is as a story. You see, in essence, Christianity is God inviting us to be part of a much bigger story, the true story of life. And in a story, it's there that we can find meaning. We can find our whole world brought to life, and we can rediscover a deeper and more beautiful reality, just like the boy and the buffalo. A great story has the power to raise us out of the mundane. And quite wonderfully, the Bible is the story of God. It spans over 3,000 years. It tells us of a God who loved his people and sought to know them and relate to them. It has amazing characters, both good and bad. It spans millenniums, continents, the rising and falling of empires. It has a great hero, a rescuer, who invites you to be a part of this wonderful story too. Just like Gandalf, who turns up on Bilbo's doorstep and offers him the opportunity to be part of a better story, the Bible's great hero, Jesus, does exactly the same. Well, what do I mean? Well, we've just been reading Harry Potter to Charlotte. She's on the 5th one now since lockdown. It has impacted her in such a way that her greatest hope is now to receive a letter on her 11th birthday telling her that she has a place at Hogwarts. That's what she wants more than anything. You see, I think the best stories speak to our heart. They change our hopes, they change our desires. And I think The Hobbit did that for me. It set a longing for adventure on my heart, and maybe it's why I joined the army, but the greatest claim you see of Christianity is that it really is a wonderful story, but also it's a true story, and that when we open our hearts to it, we can find a whole new meaning. We can become a part of this great adventure story, God's adventure. In John chapter 10, verse 10, Jesus said, "I have come to give you life, and life in all its fullness. You see, Jesus, like Gandalf does to Bilbo, invites you to be a part of a bigger story, one that offers life in all its fullness. Do you long to be part of something greater, something more meaningful? Well, my hope for this series of mini reflections on The Hobbit and the Christian life is that it will reveal something of this great story. And maybe I wholeheartedly recommend that you watch or read the films and get immersed into that book whilst confined still to home, and see if you can rediscover that sense of longing to be a part of something deeper and something more meaningful. Because what if there really was a better story?